Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the MTA Studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all natural, dry-aged USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait to taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cuts and tomahawk cut ribeyes, best I've ever had, probably the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner, 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100. I got 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wall Charter, CBS, NBC Digital, and independent affiliates in select markets. Thanks for joining us. Hotel TV, same, as well as Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Check that group out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, restaurants, recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right. We have the Stanley Cup. We have the Larry O'Brien Trophy. We have the Vince Lombardi Trophy. We've got all these great trophies in professional sports. And we compare them. We say, all right, well, this one's pretty hard to win. That one's hard to win, whatever. The Stanley Cup, of course, being the hardest to win, also the biggest and the most glorious trophy of all. Now think about this. The Stanley Cup is the oldest and most famous championship trophy in North American sports, period. Awarded, of course, in case you don't know, in case you've been living under a rock, to the winner of the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? Real simple. It is what it is. The National Hockey League, this is it. And it's made of silver and nickel, mostly silver. It's about 3 feet tall, weighs 35 pounds. That's big. Now, way back in the day, the trophy was donated 1892 by Canada's Governor General Lord Stanley of Preston. And he bought a decorative silver bowl for about $50. Now, back then, $50 was a lot of money. And it was originally meant to reward the best amateur hockey team in Canada. But it became the official NHL championship trophy way back 100 years ago. And it's pretty unique. In case you don't know, you may already know this. I'm going somewhere with this, folks, so just bear with me. Of course, it's the only trophy in professional sports that has the names of every member of the winning team permanently engraved on it. As a team wins, new rings are added to the bottom of the cup. And when the cup base gets too full, the oldest ring is removed and retired to the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. I mean, look, it's a really big deal. And of course, there's traditions like every other tradition. You know, you think of those unique traditions. And of course, even those can be found where? In the Hockey Hall of Fame. Just because we could talk about it, we're going to for just a moment here. And so, let's face it. Since the first team ever that was awarded the Stanley Cup was the Montreal Amateur Athletic Association in 1893. But since 1910, when the NHL, or the National Hockey Association, I should say, took possession of the Stanley Cup. Now, this is on the Hockey Hall of Fame website. In case you're wondering, that's where I'm pulling the information from, in case you want to go look it up yourself. So, again, 1910, National Hockey Association took possession of the cup. And the trophy has been symbolic, of course, professional hockey supremacy, beginning 100 years ago. Only NHL teams have competed for this prize trophy. The Montreal Canadiens, we know, they've won it 23 times since the formation of the National Hockey League. They even won back in 1916 as well, with Toronto a distant second at 13. So the Habs for Les Habitants, and that's what the nickname, of course, for the Montreal Canadiens. They also hold the record for the most consecutive championships with 5, accomplished, of course, between 56 and 1960. But there have been numerous alterations to the cup and its structure. So in its infancy, tiered rings were added periodically to the bottom of the bowl. And this was followed by long, narrow bands in 1927, which were later replaced by uneven bands in 1947. Because the cup is the only professional sports trophy where the name of every member of the winning team is inscribed, bands are often retired to make room for new champions, and retired bands, along with the original Stanley Cup Bowl, are proudly displayed in Lord Stanley's vault in the Esso Great Hall. Currently, the cup consists of a bowl, 3 tiered bands, a collar, 5 barrels, or uniform bands. And the trophy stands 35.25 inches high and weighs 34.5 pounds. That's pretty damn big. And of course, that's what you see when people are hoisting the cup. Sometimes they have a hard time doing it. We're talking about the executives, not the players. But of course, each year, upon presentation of the trophy to the championship team, a summer of celebration begins. As, of course, you would expect. And the organization's players, everybody, all the players and staff, they get a day with the cup, a tradition which has no rival in any sport. So, look, in its many years of existence, the Stanley Cup has traveled around the world, including stays in Russia, Japan, Switzerland, as well as the top mountain peaks throughout the Rockies and inside igloos in Canada's newest territory, believe it or not. And if you don't know what that is, you better go search for it because, well, that's a good trivia question. Nonetheless, overshadowing all the championship trophies of sports, the legend and the glory of Stanley Cup continues to live in the dreams of hockey players and fans alike. And you think back to the original trustee back in let's put it this way. Sheriff John Sweetland, 1893 to 1907, was the top dog. And then from 1893 also to 1949, Philip Ross was these were the original trustees. And we have past trustees, and the present trustees, Larry McDonald and Gary Megger. And they go back 2023, that's it. But when you look at the cup, you say, boy, is that glorious or what? I mean, look, the Stanley Cup is something that when you win your sport, look, it is really that special. And look, they even have a keeper of the cup. You always see this blonde-headed guy accompanying the cup. And now let's think of it this way. The keeper of the cup, Phil Pritchard, this guy is arguably one of the most important guys in professional sports. No one knows the cup or the history of the game of hockey better than Phil Pritchard, who is the keeper of the cup. And look, you could go on an 8-week course, a behind-the-scenes interactive look at hockey and so forth, and you could check that out. Hey, look, it's only a couple $100, whatever. But the reality is they even have a keeper of the cup, and that's the crazy part of it. And yeah, it's on display and so forth and so on. You can check it out on display. And in fact, the original Stanley Cup was really just the bowl. Way back in 1892, Lord Stanley of Preston delivered a statement in which he committed to donate a trophy that would be competed for by Canadian hockey teams, as I mentioned. Little did he realize just how powerful and magical his gifts have become and proven to be. And so, again, you can go check out all the details on it. You could take photos with the cup. That's right. You can take photos. Everything's for sale, I guess. And there is a vault where Lord Stanley's cup resides. In case you don't know, that we'll call it 125 plus year journey, whatever, is brought to life as Canada's most iconic artifact. Imagine that. The original Stanley Cup takes stage in Lord Stanley's vault, as I mentioned, in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And look, again, you could take tours. There's all kinds of things you can go see and learn and so forth. And you can see all the Stanley Cup championship rings on display. There is so much over at the Hockey Hall of Fame over in Toronto. It's really a cool thing. And look, there's been all kinds of things that have happened with the Stanley Cup as far as name misspellings and so forth and sizes. Think about this. Total number of individuals currently engraved on the cup, 2,603. Total number of individuals engraved on the cup, including retired bands, 3,489. First team ever to get engraved, the Montreal Wanderers, 1906 and 7. Years when engraving rosters became an annual tradition, 1926. Most names engraved on a cup, 55. That was Detroit, 1997, 98. Most appearances, of course, Henry Richard, Rocket Richard, you may recall him. That's the top scorer in the NHL. And then there's a couple of more Canadians for 10. And then, of course, Claude Provost, 9 times on the cup. Red Kelly from Detroit, Montreal, and Toronto, and Montreal, I should say, all 8 times. And then there's a whole bunch of Scotty Bowman with 9 times on the cup. That's crazy to imagine. There's a whole bunch of errors on here, too, from people's names being misspelled to more people's names being misspelled. It's crazy. They've had a lot of those misspellings, and they even had a couple of people that have been removed, believe it or not, from the cup. And yes, there are names and whatnot inside the bowl as well. We come back from break. We're going to keep going with this because it's pretty interesting stuff. Folks, don't go anywhere. Back here at Lord Stanley's Cup and somewhere else we're going with this in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average and best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com. Swirling like a top with a grin and a roar, he commands the
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by your friends at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com. Check them out, folks. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our CBS NBC and Fox Sports affiliates on radio, including our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. Thanks for joining us over there in Greater Atlanta, right down the road in Columbus, Georgia, all the way to Montgomery, Alabama, with that antenna right there in Auburn. War Eagle, our friends on WAUD, tuning in 7 p.m. Monday through Friday on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network, up and down the Midwest, out to our friends driving between sunny Southern California and right here in Las Vegas, listening in on 94.9 FM and 96.9 FM, KNAC, Pure Rock, up and down the West Coast from Anchorage down to Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, that's home of the New York Yankees, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Thanks for driving home, listening in on the H1 or H2, wherever you're driving throughout Oahu and the Hawaiian Islands. And of course, everybody else on Pick Your Favorite Carrier on television, Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, CBS, NBC Digital, and that's in California Central Valley, those CBS, NBC Digital stations over there. Thanks for joining us, as well as all of our independents from coast to coast in select markets, Hotel TV, and of course, everybody listening in on that favorite streamer, Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, Leeson, all kinds of those, plus a whole lot more, and of course on, yes, the Mars rover, if possible. All right. Now, back here talking about Lord Stanley's Cup, and we're doing this for a reason. I'm going somewhere with this, folks, so just hang in there with me. I'm giving you some background on the enormity of the Stanley Cup. I mean, look, it's basically 3 feet high, about 35 pounds, and it is the most glorious trophy in all of sports at this point. And look, it goes back since 1893. 1893, it's been the poster trophy. It's been the Stanley Cup for 100 years. 100 years, folks. That's crazy. And the winners, their names are on there. And I mean, you're talking all the teams, all the executives, etc., and so forth and whatnot. And even inside the bowl, on top of the bowl. Now, the bowl was the original trophy back in 1892, I think it was. But nonetheless, the bowl itself is now, of course, the top of the Stanley Cup. And inside the bowl, you'll find the 1906-1907 Montreal Wanderers. That's right. The 1914 and to 1915 Vancouver Millionaires. That's right. 9 names there, 20 for Montreal. And then there's an unknown. Nobody knows the date, but they know the name of H. Broadbent. So they appear one time. Now the first ring, it goes, because there are rings around this cup. The first ring was the Victoria Cougars, 12 names there, 1924, 1925. Then the Montreal Maroons, yet another name, 1925 to 1926. So 30 names total on the first ring originally. The second ring, Ottawa Senators, which that's their current name now, 1926 to 1927. That season, the 26-27 season, not to be confused with 2026. No, 17 names from there. And the 1928-29 Boston Bruins have 16 names. That's the second ring. The fourth ring of the Stanley Cup. The fourth ring. The Montreal Canadiens from the 1923-24 season, 21 names. Now there is a barrel ring 1, which goes from the winners from 1965-66 season to 1977-78 season. Barrel ring 2 from 1978 to 1991. Barrel 3, 1991-92 to 2003 and 4. Then you have barrel ring 4. Nobody won. The season wasn't played in 2004, 2005 because of a strike. So the Tampa Bay Lightning technically had the cup for 2 years, even though they won it in 23-24, but they carried it all the way through the 2004 and 2005 season. So they had it for 2 seasons, and then Carolina took it from them the 2005 to 06 season, and then it was dominated largely by the Penguins and the Chicago Blackhawks, that barrel ring four, with the Penguins having the 08-09, and then they had the 15-16, 16-17, and the Blackhawks with 2009 and 10, and then they had 2012-13, 2014-15. And then, of course, barrel ring number 5, which is the current one as we stand, and has, well, technically you've got some years that haven't, there's still room to have more seasons added, probably a couple, 3 more seasons, but it seems like the teams from Florida have really dominated this one with a couple of back-to-backs there. And of course, with the Carolina Hurricanes on this one as well. But when you think of the history of it, I mean, look, there have only been 4 official engravers of the Stanley Cup. This goes back a long time, folks. The first engraver comprised of 2 generations of the Peterson family, with assistance from Fred Light Sr., and they were followed by Doug Boffey, owner of Boffey Silversmiths of Montreal. So the current engraver is Louis Saint-Jacques, who took over Boffey's engraving business and left a legacy, of course, of the shop's name in place, and during engraving the cup is disassembled from the top down. Believe it or not, I did not know this. And the band being engraved is clamped onto a homemade circular jig that creates a steel background for the stamping itself. And so special hammers with different head weights are used to strike against a letter punch to sink each letter into the silver. I did not know this. This is really cool stuff. I mean, look, there's some real workmanship and craftsmanship that goes into the pride of hammering this thing out. And look, this is one of those trophies that if you ever get your name on it, if you're lucky enough to get your name on it, I mean, there's some real history there. And people say, well, what about some of the other sports? Well, let's take a look at soccer for a minute. Now, look, first of all, we know soccer is not very popular in the U.S. It just isn't. It historically has struggled to gain big popularity in the U.S., of course, compared to American football, baseball, hockey, basketball. And people say, well, it's largely because the country's sports space. I don't know about that. I don't know. Because we were force-fed soccer when we were kids. Mind you, this is a long time ago. And it just never picked up. It didn't catch on. It's slow. Very, very, very slow. It's honestly, folks, in my opinion, it's remarkably unapologetic. It's very boring, in my opinion. But I get it. The rest of the world likes it. We just don't here in North America, generally speaking. However, of course, its professional footprint is steadily growing, allegedly. Of course, that's what everyone's going to say. And several specific cultures and historical and structural factors really explain the whole issue. I mean, look, I don't know if we have time for all that, but let's face it. American sports like baseball and football and whatnot, they have deep historical roots. And I mean, this goes back 19th and early 20th century because these sports became national obsessions first. They captured the prime athletic talent, media coverage, and institutional support, even high school as well, leaving soccer just really a pastime. And of course, the pace of play, like I said, look, the other sports are faster, soccer is slow. Youth versus professional disconnect in this country, well, we get it, look. So soccer, there's a bunch of kids playing, but look, it's not this big popular thing that's really publicized. And many Americans play the sport as a child, but transition to watching football or baseball or hockey or basketball. And so they say, well, there's an accessibility problem. No, there isn't. Not at all. They say being your favorite search engine that rhymes with noodle, unlike basketball or American football, which require minimal equipment, can be played anywhere. Developing elite level soccer players in the vast geographic area of the United States require significant travel and club expense. I don't believe that at all. It's the same dynamic as playing pickup basketball or pickup football, backyard football. That's a bunch of nonsense. And that's just somebody's spin on the grand scheme of things as I see it. So I mean, look, there are rules we get for hockey, for example. It's kind of similar with offsides and whatnot for soccer. And let's face it, soccer, there's a whole bunch of people on the field at one time. And let's think about that. How many players are on a soccer field, right? Let's think about that one. Go back to that same favorite search engine. There are 22 players on the field during a standard soccer match. So it's 11 from each side. Think about that. Just like in pro football, there's 11 on each side, but it's a fast action game. Fast action. Whereas in soccer, it seems to sometimes put the audience to sleep. And of course, the team must have at least 7 players on the field to start or continue a game. That's how it works in soccer. Then there's red cards and yellow cards and all this other crap. And then you have players taking dives and whatnot. I don't know. I mean, it seems the hardest thing to do there is be a goaltender. Because the goal, literally, you can have 10 people block the goal and you can still score in that goal. Ironically, the games are 1-0, 2-1, 2-0, whatever. Low-scoring games. And that, given the size of the net, in my opinion, says just how remarkably boring soccer is in the first place. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Maybe we'll talk a little World Cup. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about the little punk-ass trophy. All right, back here in a few minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMTV studio, AAMT television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, record shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher, Deezer, and Libsyn as well. Also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners at thesportscircus.com. One of our favorites food-wise is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't make it over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Read all about the creation of the Italian beef sandwich, an institution around the U.S. If you haven't heard about it, you've been living under a rock. Created about 120 years ago by the same family. They opened their first store in 1938, and they've been in business ever since. Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't make it over there for some great food, check them out online at alsbeef.com and tell them the circus sent you. I'm not really sure why you would tell them that, but then again, those are my friends. So maybe you should tell them. Maybe they'll give you a pile on a little bit more of the beef or pile on the fries, whatever. I don't know. But the food is really, and I mean really bleeping good. I have to keep this a PG rated show, so I can't really say the word I want to say, but it's really like that, folks. All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. You know you are. And I was talking about, in the first segment and a half or so, talking about Lord Stanley's Cup. The hardest trophy in all of sports to win, the biggest trophy, the most glorious trophy, in my opinion. And let's do a quick comparison. You know, people say, well, you know, World Cup is a really big deal, and soccer is the most popular sport in the world, and so forth. Well, you would think, I don't know, I would think, I don't know about you, but one would think that the World Cup trophy should be the biggest and best in the world. One would imagine. It shouldn't be, in my opinion, the size of a bowling trophy. And that's how it is. And they say, well, you know, the FIFA World Cup and the NHL Stanley Cup's representation are the pinnacle of their respective sports, yet they differ vastly in value, design, and tradition. The World Cup is a priceless gold, single edition prize awarded to national teams. The Stanley Cup is a massive silver traveling community trophy engraved with every winning player's name on it. And that, in case you're wondering, you can find that at the Canterbury Rugby Clothing, Instagram, YouTube, TSN, right, on the Canadian sports world. And you can even find that on Trophy Deals. That's right. So just that particular statement kind of made me laugh when they say it's priceless gold. Well, last I checked, the World Cup trophy, it's made of, they say, solid 18 karat gold with a malachite base. Okay, now wait a second. They say it's worth about $20 million, whatever. The reality is, if it was solid 24 karat gold, now that would be something. Because last time I checked, 18 karat gold is not pure. So let's just say 18, let's go back to our favorite search engine, 18K versus 24 karat K gold. All right. And they say the primary difference between 18 and 24 is their purity and durability. 18K contains 75% pure gold mixed with 25% other metals, while 24 karat gold is 99.9% pure gold, making it a glorious, glorious item. And so, in case you don't know, there's a color difference as well. 24K has a distinct, deep, and vibrant yellow color. 18K is slightly more subtle, though it's still rich, but it has some kind of a yellow tone. And yes, there are, believe it or not, hypoallergenic properties. 18 karat contains alloy metals that may cause skin sensitivity. Who knew that one? And of course, there's a gigantic price difference. So when you go back to the reason we went there in the first place is the initial overview. It said that the World Cup is made of solid 18 karat gold. Well, solid and 18K is sort of a oxymoron because solid 24 karat is gold, whereas 18K is only 75% gold and 25% other. So I'm not really sure how they come up with solid 18K, but whatever. But here's the bigger part about it. Well, the reality is the whole FIFA only awards gold-plated replicas to the champions and keeps the original locked away. So what do they really get? Apparently, as I understand it, they're only getting a replica trophy anyway. Yeah. So now the truth comes out. And so the actual World Cup itself is like nobody even sees it anyway. Oh, and by the way, it's not solid in case you're keeping score. No, that 18, they say, made of solid 18 karat gold with malachite base. Well, guess what? If you do a little bit of digging, a little bit of research, well, it turns out, believe it or not, you could do the same research as I. You'll find out that the World Cup itself is hollow like a chocolate Easter egg from a cheap chocolate manufacturer. That's right, folks. In case you're keeping score. I mean, what a colossal letdown. The whole world is being duped into thinking, number one, they're getting this glorious gold trophy, solid gold trophy. That's not it. In fact, what do we have for them for an answer? That would be the wrong answer because that's not it. The reality is it's an imposter that's sitting out there. And I remember one time, we're going to think of something gold. So our local hockey team is the Vegas Golden Knights. And one time I was sitting in my seats and I was giving the mascot a hard time because I knew he was a knockoff of the original mascot and Chance, who was the Gila monster for the Vegas Golden Knights. And so he was walking up and down the aisle in front of my seats in section 8 in the lower bowl. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. That's imposter Chance. That can't be the real Chance. And so I yelled out, hey, imposter Chance. And everyone looked at me like, what in the world? And so imposter Chance came and sat down next to me in the vacant seat and just talking as a regular guy that was in the costume saying, man, why do you got to give me a hard time? He goes, I know this isn't the original Chance outfit, but this is what they gave me. So you don't have to call me Imposter Chance. But I did anyway. I mean, a lot of people get a roar out of it. And what do? I mean, my job is to get under everybody's skin as much as possible because that's what we do as an agitator. But here's the thing. I'm not the political agitators. I mean, those people, they can't fight. They can't do their own thing. I'm born and raised on the west side of Chicago. So I certainly know how to defend myself. I know hand-to-hand combat. So I can call him Imposter Chance and I can defend myself even if he pulled some chaotic moves on me that only a gigantic Gila monster could do. However, the World Cup, that trophy is, as I see it, it's an imposter. That's why I went to Imposter Chance. Now I'm going to Imposter Cup. That's right. I said it. Imposter Cup. Yeah. So you see, folks, the whole world is fighting for this. The whole soccer playing world is fighting for a fake trophy. That's right. Because remember, FIFA only gets gold-plated replicas to the champion. So whether it's this champion or that champion, I don't care if it's Spain or Argentina or this one or that one, guess what? They all get duped anyway. That is incredibly ridiculous. Whereas the Stanley Cup, yeah, it's made of silver, nickel alloy. Its replacement value is about $650,000. And your name is actually on it. It's on it technically forever. And once the names, they keep building and building, it goes into the band and to the Hockey Hall of Fame, and it's there forever, etched in silver. But you don't see that with this whole World Cup nonsensical replica fake gold that's hollowed out in the first place like a cheap Easter bunny chocolate. And to me, I mean, that's the most disappointing thing. When I see, like, I like Godiva chocolate. and I bite into their Easter eggs, and you bite the ears off first because that's typically what you do, right? Well, guess what? When you bite the ears, and Godiva's a pretty good production chocolate company. It's not great, but it's certainly the top tier in production chocolate. And when you bite into it and it's hollow, what an incredible letdown as far as I see it. But look, when I bite into it, I expect something solid. I don't expect hollow. So guess what? This trophy, the FIFA World Cup trophy that they present, it's hollow, it's cheap. In my opinion, it's absolute, unequivocal garbage. Back here on the circus.
Step right up! The show is about to start! With a heart of fire! And a restless heart!
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMTV studio, 8AMP television. Folks, make sure to check out the store at thesportscircus.com. Lots of great items, hats, hoodies, T-shirts, ball caps, beanie hats, sweatpants, sweat coats, travel mugs, coffee mugs, mouse pads, pillows, you name it. All kinds of great items with the clever Sports Circus logo on them. That's the Sports Circus store. You can check it out at thesportscircus.com. Right across the top of the page, there is a toolbar, or better yet, there's a menu. You can pick from whatever you want, from About Us to Contact or whatnot. There's one that says Store. Click on it. Pick your favorite items. And guess what? Mention my name, Ringmaster Sal, for an extra 10% off your first purchase. How do you like them apples? Yes! All right, the super applause. All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS NBC Fox Sports affiliate and independence from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Walt Charter, CBS NBC Digital, and independent affiliates, and select markets, hotel TV, in about 500,000 rooms or so, where applicable. And that's our upscale, really nice rooms, hotel rooms and resort rooms and whatnot. The good stuff, folks. And also Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure to check that group out, folks. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. A fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, restaurants, and recipes. Make some friends in all four corners of the earth for all you flat earthers out there. And, of course, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, so speaking of four corners of the earth, we're talking a little bit about that FIFA World Cup trophy, doing a comparison with the Stanley Cup, Lord Stanley's Cup, which, I mean, one, of course, the Stanley Cup is 35 pounds. It's about 3 feet long. I mean, it is big, it's gigantic, it's silver, it's something to behold. And that is the most difficult trophy to win in all of sports, and it's the biggest and heaviest and so forth. And it's quite valuable. However, when you're on it, except for a couple of people, which we'll get to, I guess, in a minute. But nonetheless, comparing that to the World Cup itself, they say, well, the World Cup is made of solid 18 karat gold, which, first of all, 18 karat gold is not necessarily solid, right? Because solid gold is what? 24 carats. And this is basically 75% gold and with a malachite base anyway. And oh, by the way, that original World Cup trophy that they rave about, it is technically locked away. So when a team wins the World Cup, what they get is a replica. It's a gold-plated replica. That goes to the champions. That's right. So whether it's Spain or this one or that one, whatever. And the reality is, they say that it's made of solid gold. It's not. It's hollow. And I gave the analogy of one of those hollow chocolate Easter eggs. So it's only about the size of a bowling trophy, a small bowling trophy you'd get as a kid. The World Cup is really only 14.5 inches tall, but it weighs about 13.5 pounds. All right, good news. Small enough to be easily held up with one hand, I guess, by a captain, whatever. But the Stanley Cup, you need two hands, and it's big. It is big, and it is one of those to behold. But the World Cup, of course, is highly protected, and it can only be touched by World Cup winners. Or is that, I don't know, is that the replica? I don't know. Apparently that's what's touched by the winners, right? And so they say, well, that's the heads of state actually get to. So it travels in a custom Louis Vuitton case and is prominently featured during the closing ceremony, but players cannot take it home. And let's face it, the teams are only presented with an imposter anyway. Whereas the Stanley Cup, hey, let's face it, every player and executive that's involved with the team, they get a day with the cup. Now that itself is one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. We like that. They go back to the history of the World Cup, right? First awarded in 1930, Stanley Cup, 1893. And we know what the competition's for, so we don't need to get into that. We've already talked about that. But the World Cup trophy itself, from 1930 to 1970, it was first designed. Some French sculptor, Albert Lefleur, designed the trophy as a golden cup held by a winning figure. Okay, fine. World War II is a little bit difference in it. Italian official Tuzzolino Barassi saved the trophy from being taken by hiding it in a shoebox under his bed. Can you imagine trying to hide the Stanley Cup in a shoebox? Yeah, it wouldn't work. But it was stolen in 1966. That's right, the trophy was stolen in London, go figure. Right before the 66 World Cup, a dog named Pickles found it wrapped in a newspaper under a hedge. Well, that sounds like a rather convenient story, doesn't it? But then again, what else would you expect from Europe? And of course, the permanent home. In 1970, guess what? Any country winning the tournament 3 times would keep the trophy permanently. Now, Brazil achieved this in 1970 and took ownership. How do you like them apples? And the final fate, 1983, the trophy was stolen again in Brazil and was sadly melted down by thieves. Well, the thieves, although they melted it down, well, it would seem to me that, they only found out they got 18 karat gold and it was hollow. So how much did they really get for it in the first place? Right? So it's not like it was a 24 karat gold, 13.5 pound thing, which would be worth a fortune. But nonetheless, you go back to the current World Cup trophy, 1974 to present, and of course, FIFA needed a new trophy and chose a design by Italian artist Silvio Gazzaniga. And the meaning, of course, the trophy is made of 18 karat gold, as I mentioned, and it weighs about 6.175 kilos. And the base, of course, I said it was malachite. But frankly, it's an embarrassment to have the trophy stolen. And can you imagine? No respect whatsoever for the World Cup. Because, first of all, if it's being stolen and melted, who would do the melting? Oh, maybe they did the melting. All I know is the Stanley Cup is the oldest and most famous championship trophy in North American sports, and I would argue worldwide. It is the most coveted trophy of all. And you say, well, what about all the engravings that get taken off and they get put in the Hockey Hall of Fame? Well, guess what? They're still a part of the Stanley Cup. It's just the cup, if you make it so big, nobody could pick it up because it's already it's 3 feet long already. Imagine that. What if it goes to 4 feet and 5 feet and 6 feet long? Now you're picking up a 100-pound trophy. And I'll tell you what, not a lot of people could pick that up. But you think of the journey just to win the Stanley Cup versus the World Cup. And you say, all right, well, there is a journey to win these trophies, right? So if you look at the FIFA World Cup journey, you say, well, it is, I guess it's a big deal. That's how you got to look at it. So when you say, all right, well, it is a big deal, but then again, is it really a big deal? You got a bunch of pro athletes that are trying to do the unthinkable, in their opinion, was to be the world champion. So I'm not so sure. I mean, look, it is a big deal for sure. It certainly is a big deal. But remember, in North America, we don't share the same interest in it. So you think back to, all right, fine, Spain won the 2026, the World Cup, beating Argentina, whatever. And you have this guy winning, that guy winning. All right, look, at the end of the day, teams must play in regional games to earn one of the 48 spots in the first place in this tournament. Then there are group stages. So teams are divided into small groups, and they play 3 games against different teams to earn points. Then there's a knockout stage, basically round of 32, round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals. But it's not like they're playing. Think about that, the Stanley Cup playoffs. You've got 8 games in the preseason. Then you've got 82 games of grueling knockdown, drag-out hockey where the other team is trying to knock your guy 5 rows through the glass. They're wearing deadly weapons. Everyone's wearing deadly weapons and skates. They got one in their hands and the stick. The puck is a deadly weapon. That's right. And you're going at over 20 miles an hour. There's a lot going on there, folks, and it is a very small, condensed arena. And so then you've got 4 playoff series to win. 4. That's right. You've got to win 16 games to win the Stanley Cup outside of the 82 games in the regular season you got to play, outside of the 8. So you're talking 106 games you've got to play. Then you have to win the final game of the season to win Lord Stanley's Cup. Now, in the soccer thing, just to win the World Cup, well, let's face it, you got to play a few games in these regionals, and then you got to play a few more games in this group stage, and then there's a knockout stage. So you really got to win, let's see, round of 32, 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. There's 5 of those. There's a grand total of right around 8 to 10 games, somewhere like that, versus 106 games played. Think of the injuries. Think of the travel. Think of the chaos. That's right. Think of the speed of the game and the danger. You could die in any game. It's unbelievable. It has happened. Players have died in Stanley Cup games or just in regular season games, in preseason games. They've gotten severely injured. And what's the worst you're going to get in the soccer game? You might end up with a broken leg. You may end up getting concussed, which is never a joke for sure. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get that injured. Like the protective gear is negligible in the grand scheme of things. And then you've got the media opens their mouth. Oh yeah, good old USA Today and everybody else. So after the Spain win, for example, they're like, well, at a time when sports needs better heroes, Spain delivered. Now, what are you talking about with better heroes? What the hell does that mean? USA Today, some kind of an alleged credible USA paper, American paper of sorts that comes out, once a week, twice a week, whatever the hell. Then they've got an online venue. They're saying we need better sports heroes, or better yet, I'm not really sure where, for example, Nancy Armoire is the one who wrote this, and I'm not even going to give her any more credit than that. So Nancy, you better check yourself. If you're saying that sports needs better heroes, what are you referring to? What kind of heroes are you talking about? Are you talking about heroes that play a game, heroes that are one of 11 players on a team? Is the whole team the hero? Who is the hero you're referring to? Because last I checked, a hero is a standout. Now, if you're going to say the whole team is a standout, we've seen that in certain sports. The 85 Bears, the whole defensive unit for sure, and Walter Payton on the offense were heroes of that game. Refrigerator Perry was a hero, is more of a folk hero of the game. But what is a hero, according to USA Today? So I think they better really check what they were trying to send as far as that message goes. It sure sounds like a liberal message to me, and a dig against these United States of America. That is an abomination, and I don't believe that I'll be looking at USA Today anymore because of that nonsensical statement and, well, lackluster article. That's going to do it for the circus today. Watch hockey, don't watch soccer. Watch baseball, don't watch soccer. Watch football, don't watch soccer. And guess what? You can even watch basketball, don't watch soccer. Colossal waste of time, folks. Back here in 23 hours on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone, from the circus.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.